what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and it's currently 3:30 in the morning. Raid just ended, and about 2 hours ago, around 1:30 a.m. Eastern, Blizzard put out a blue post highlighting basically everything that you want to know about Season 4. The questions about Conduits, Legendaries, Covenants, gearing, eye level, difficulty, well, sort of difficulty. Basically, every question we have is answered in this post, which is really cool to see, albeit less than a week from the patch, but either way, this gives a good roadmap of what to do or what not really to do heading into Season 4 next Tuesday. Now, yesterday, Scarizard asked on Twitter some questions he might have had about Season 4 that hadn't been answered, and today, or I guess this evening, tomorrow, whatever time you want to call it, we got this post. Now, some things I'm a little surprised on. Some things I'm a little disappointed in. I wish there was more to it, but at the same time, I do sort of get that Dragonflight Alpha is out, and not everyone's in it, obviously, but there is like a alpha split of the actual like community and a Season 4 split. Some are raiding, some are doing dungeons, so we'll get into all of it, but I feel like the more I thought about it for the past hour or so, this probably is the best way, or one of the better ways, for them to take, I guess, legendaries and things in Season 4. So with that being said, let's just get right into it. So right off the bat, the first thing, Conduits. Conduit item level is not increasing, meaning they will stay at a max of 278. So if you currently have the 3K Mythic Plus score, Mythic Sepulcher, whatever, that big Conduit item, the Vessel of Profound Possibilities that you had to buy in this season, that is the max level. Now, with 278 becoming the new normal item level for Fated Raids and Conduits, all that stuff, Conduits on Fated Normal, Heroic, or Mythic will drop at 278. So if you don't have the 3K achievement or Mythic Sepulcher clear to buy the actual vessel, they will drop in basically any difficulty, normal or higher, in Castle, SOD, and Sepulcher when it rotates back around on Fated. Now, Conduits are not being added to non-Shadowlands dungeons. Keep in mind, in S4, all of these Shadowlands dungeons, except for Tazavesh, are going away. No more Halls of Valor or Halls of Atonement, no more, Mystic Tier Inside. WoD dungeons, Grimrail, Iron Docks, lower Karazhan, upper Karazhan, both Mechagons and both Tazaveshes will be part of the new dungeon cycle, but they are not having Conduits added to them. Tazavesh we scaled up, but there's that. The big thing here for alts, the Vessel of Profound Possibilities, the 3K item we talked about a second ago for the 278 Conduits, is being added to a vendor that you can buy with Cosmic Flux. So this is probably a bit too late. It probably should have gone account-wide in, some point a few months ago. But either way, if you want max level Conduits, it shouldn't be too hard to obtain because they're for Cosmic Flux, which is pretty easy to get at this point, being this far into S3. Now, personally, I wouldn't mind seeing Conduits increase eye level wise. I think it'd be sort of cool to have them drop in raid at a higher eye level or have some tied to the new dungeons, but honestly, it's sort of a wash. It took a long time for someone to get the 3K vessel, so it is what it is. Not the end of the world. The thing that I'm a bit more passionately disappointed about, I guess, is Legendaries. So, crafted Shadowlands Legendaries will not increase in rank, staying at a max rank of 7 with an eye level of 291 for the season. There is no new crafter's mark to create a single piece of improved item level gear, so basically Legendaries are the same. So, number one, we're going to be getting higher eye level gear from Mythic Plus, from the raid. We're going to have plus gear upgradable to, I think, 298. The raid dropping 308 and like 314 or something like that for end bosses. I think personally it's going to feel really bad having our legendaries, like the most epic things, the most legendary things in game, our lowest eye level pieces. Even if they had just said, hey, there's no new crafting pieces, we're going to leave crafters alone, but we're going to bump them up to, like, let's say 315 eye level just passively, that'd be fine. I'm sure they can tune around that. It might be a little awkward just logging in Tuesday and seeing them, 17 eye levels higher or however much it would be. But I think it would sort of make sense, right, with there being this little notice about S4 legendaries. But just leaving them where they are is a bit unfortunate. And the big thing is that, so currently we have, like, Unity and other legendary typically in a spot that is a higher value, like legs, chest, helm, at times rings, taking into account like sockets and legendaries, but also taking into account main stat and secondary stat allocation, because helms, chest, legs, they have a lot of main stat and a lot of secondary stat on them. But with that being the case, you're probably going to want to shift all of your legendaries from your big pieces to your small pieces like bracers or gloves or a belt, because they're going to be a lower eye level than the gear you're getting from Mythic Plus in the raid. So chances are high, unless they change this, which they very well might, you're probably going to have to recraft all your legendaries at some point. Now, day one, probably not going to happen because you're going to be farming plus and doing whatever, And also, the creation catalyst will have charges in it you can just put tier into, so you won't be replacing it like day 1, day 2. But when you get those higher level pieces that might not be tier or whatever, if you let's say you get a 298 helm day 1 from Mythic Plus, you can bring that to the catalyst and make it 298 and make it tier. If you've got Unity on a helm or whatever piece dropped for that slot, chances are pretty high you're going to want to remake a legendary on a smaller, I guess, item. So it's sort of awkward. I'm not a huge fan of it, but we'll see where it goes. I wouldn't be surprised if they went back and just bumped it up, but tuning is also something that's come into question with S4, and well, I mean, we'll see where that goes. So, currencies briefly. Cosmic Flux is not resetting, which I believe we already knew. Valor is, but Valor will be uncapped unless that has changed in the past week or so in Season 4. So whatever Cosmic Flux you have now on your alts and your main, that should be there whenever S4 rolls over. Now, we know the Creation Catalyst will be around, and one of our main sources of requiring tier gear outside of Sepulchre Faded raids, because I don't believe tier is dropping in Nathria or SOD. So that 298 helm you might get from Mythic Plus, you can bring it to the Creation Catalyst day 1, because there's no eye level cap from Mythic Plus, which we'll get to that in a little bit, and turn it into tier. So Cosmic Flux you have around now is going to be worth something in S4. So I wouldn't dump it on random things. I probably wouldn't waste it on alts if you don't need to. I would assume it's the same as it is in Season 3, with like chests and I think helms costing a bit more flux compared to like other smaller pieces. But keep in mind, the flux you have now should still be usable in S4. Now, a few other points here. Unused attendance tokens. So these are the coins from the vault. They're going away upon season start. So I have 10 in my bags currently in retail. You can turn one in for 500 Cosmic Flux per token, I believe. You can check the coin vendor, but I think it's 500 per coin. So that's theoretically 5,000 Cosmic Flux right there if you don't have any. Or you can buy a socket item, but keep in mind that is also going away in S4. You can vendor it, but if there's an item you want to socket from this season you haven't going into S4, now will be a good time to do it, because that item's going to be basically broken, and your coins are also going away. So if you've been stockpiling them, hoping to, double dip in S4 coins and things, it doesn't look to be that way. If there's new tokens coming, tokens of merit, and a new socket item as well. So if you're saving up, I probably would just dump them now, buy some Cosmic Flux or whatever you want to sell in the auction house, some legendary things, and make a little gold before S4 comes out. So when it comes to Mythic Plus in Season 4, the big question people have been having is, what do I need to run this week to open a 15 next week? And right here at the start, you want to finish either an 18 in time or deplete a 19, but finish the key to open a 15 at the start of Season 4. Now, 15 is the highest level you need to run for max level gear from the vault, so I would suggest doing so this week. An 18 really shouldn't be a hard time, and a 19 should be pretty easy as well. Now, they go into a bit more detail here, talking a bit about WoD dungeons and things. To a similar extent, they reference WoD primary stat rings, trinkets with no primary stat on them, the Mechagun rings, and other unique items from these dungeons will all be enabled. So, rings currently in retail don't have any, primary stat on them. They have stamina, but they don't have intellect, right? Mechagun rings are busted, we know that. But with WoD rings having int on them, I'm curious to see where they end up falling compared to Mechagun rings. Mechagun rings are really good. They're typically ahead of every other ring that you want to, try and acquire, but that could change things up. And to a similar extent, they go on to talk about Iron Docks and Grimrail loot tables having a million items on them. Now, there's some unique items in there, like the Meat Hook trinket for casters. I think there's a Agility Injector from the second boss in Iron Docks, which are unique to that dungeon. And they go on to say they're going to end up trimming some loot from them. There's a lot of shared loot in WoD across dungeons. So thankfully, if you're looking for the Meat Hook trinket or any unique item from these dungeons, you shouldn't have to run it hundreds of times to try and acquire it with the loot table having 80 plus items on it. Mythic Plus end of run items won't be capped eye level wise week 1, so you can just go in and blast, acquire a lot of loot early on. And non-Taz dungeons are gaining an increased baseline item level. So those are the ones that, Halls of Atonement, Tyrannicide, the Mythic 0 ones. But a big thing here, which is an issue on PTR early on, you cannot upgrade those items with Valor. So we had a big question months ago on PTR. You could run Mythic Zeros like Halls of Atonement and get items like Peter of Pain, get a Ruby, and you could theoretically upgrade that Ruby with Valor. They changed it, so you can't. Thankfully, there's no weird double dipping and trying to play the system. New dungeons, new items. There's no weird doubling down on things, which is good to see. And briefly at the end here, a bit about rating. Mythic rating is available on launch with no delay. Day 1, next Tuesday, 5 days from now or whatever. You can walk into Mythic Faded Castle Nathria and pull bosses, which is pretty wild. We have not seen any kind of testing on PTR of the raids. We haven't seen the actual app fixes. I can't even tell you what they all do at this point. I'm excited for it. But Tuesday could be a wild ride depending on tuning or if there's any bugs in place. But I would assume that without any actual, like, PTR testing, Blizz has put in their time. We'll see where it goes. Cross-realm rating will stay on. No Hall of Fame, which is good to hear. A big thing here, raid skips earned in previous seasons will work in the difficulties you unlock them for. If you have a Mythic KT skip, you can go to Mythic KT. If you have a Heroic KT skip, you can go to Heroic KT for SOD and Sepulchre, which is really, really cool to see. At the same time, depending on tuning, there's a rumor going around that these bosses in Sepulchre are getting like a 30% health buff, which could be totally wrong. I don't know. I haven't confirmed that anywhere. We haven't heard about tuning at all. If given the option of having a harder faded season or an easier one, I'm probably leaning towards an easier one, but hey, we'll see where it goes. And regardless, having the skips available from day 1 is really great, because if you had to do the quest again, that's 4 boss kills, but 4 boss kills in 4 different raids is like, what, like a long time, with faded rotations being a thing. Castle Nathria gives a bit of fade. Every raid gives a bit of cosmic flux when you kill things now, which is great. Moving on a bit more here, talking a bit about the legendary bow from Sylvanas and the actual Font of Night. They're going to have increased drop rates. You can upgrade the bow a bit, but not to max level, and all of that. And the final thing here, we're making a series of balance changes to trinkets and special weapons obtainable from all 3 Shadowlands raids in some dungeons. So like, and they go on and talk about nerfing them because S4 Mythic 0 dungeons, like, well, Ruby from TOP, or Ooze from Plaguefall, or Changeling, they will drop at a max of 262 and cannot be upgraded, like we talked about. So the 278 one you might have, it could be good for a little while. I would assume there's going to be like pretty large sweeping nerfs to all of these Shadowlands base trinkets. Probably announced sometime this weekend coming up, or maybe Monday. TLDR, you might want to farm some up in Mythic Plus before the raid if possible. But I mean, to add value to ones that haven't been played before, like the ones from the new dungeons, or even ones from faded raids, it makes sense. Ooze is really strong, Ruby is really strong, Changing's very strong, and without having a way to like bump these up eye level wise with Valor in Mythic Zeros, it's where it makes sense. So I mean, overall, I am excited for S4. I wish Legendaries were getting an eye level bump. It's really surprising that like the legendary items, like the ones above epic items, are going to be our lowest eye level. But I guess with it being this close to the actual patch coming out, it might have been one of those things where it was like, you know what, just leave it the way that it is. I wouldn't be surprised if they go back and bump them up like a rank 8, like a 315 eye levels out of nowhere. Due to player feedback, we'll see. Conduits, once again, 278. Cosmic Flux not going away. Once again, there's no mention of Valor here. But from what we've heard, there's no Valor cap in S4, and there's no eye level cap on Mythic Plus dungeons either, loot-wise at the end of week 1. So Tuesday comes around, if you want to spam Plus for max level gear, go for it. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. The video part wasn't very long, but I hope it gave you all a good summary of S4 changes. I was surprised. It hit at like 1:30 a.m. for me mid-raid. Typically, Blizz doesn't push Blue Post this late, but with the timing of S4 and Alpha being out and builds coming left and right and having 2 different games going on at the same time, I'm glad we got it, I guess, as soon as possible. Like I said, I'm a little surprised Legendaries aren't being upgraded any way at all. It sort of makes sense, like not being a gold sync this late and giving crafters like a big like mad scramble last second, but I'm surprised they're not even bumping them up just raw eye level wise, like for S4, even just passively. Make them like 315 eye level. Having like our legendary items, once again, being the biggest things we have, they're above epics, be the lowest eye levels, can be really odd. And shifting them to like lower pieces of gear, like bracers and belts and gloves and things, over like helms and chest and legs, which are higher main set items, it's going to be odd, but I guess that might just be the world we live in. Once again, no mention of a Valor cap this season in the post, but they mentioned there's going to be no Valor cap this season, which is good. If you want to farm Plus day 1, there doesn't appear to be any eye level cap. No real word on tuning officially. We'll see where that goes. And Cosmic Flux is not resetting, so I would not dump it all alts if you can avoid it, because you could very well still need to upgrade that helm if from Plus day 1 to a tier helm. But we'll see where it goes. Overall, S4 is going to be interesting. I am excited for the raids, more so Nathria, and I guess Sepulchre is fine. I'm not incredibly pumped for Sanctum, but I feel like when we get in there, actually pull it, it's going to be better than I think. Dungeons are all cool. I love the WoD dungeons. Iron Docks is better than Grimrail, but when I ran Grimrail and PTR with Fortified, Sanguine Quaking, it wasn't as bad as I thought, but it's still Grimrail. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you guys want to see more WoW content and or help support the channel, be sure to smash the like and sub buttons below. And while you're down there, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down there as well, and I will be sure to get back to you. I also want to give one huge shout out to my patrons. Thank you guys a million times for all support on Patreon. Really appreciate it. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, it should be a link up here as well as down in the video description below. With all that being said, thanks again for watching, guys, and I will catch you all again soon on stream, whether it's Alpha or Season 4, sometime soon. Peace.